Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to repair, especially when it's shattered by a skilled liar. Certain questions, when asked, serve as subtle warning signs of deception that most people completely miss. These questions aren't random. They're calculated tactics used by manipulative individuals to gain your trust while actively betraying it. In this video, I'm going to reveal 5 specific questions that should immediately raise red flags in your mind. When someone asks you these things, they're often trying to manipulate you without you even realizing it. These tactics are used every day in relationships, workplaces, and even casual conversations. By recognizing these questions, you'll be able to protect yourself from people who don't have your best interests at heart, and you'll develop an almost sixth sense for detecting when someone is trying to deceive you. What I'm about to share could permanently change how you view your interactions. Don't worry if you've fallen for these tactics before. Most people have, often without even knowing it. It's crucial that you don't skip any part of this video. Each question builds on the last, creating a full picture of how liars operate. If you're short on time, I suggest watching at 1.5x or 2x speed rather than skipping sections. Once time is lost, it's never regained, just like trust. Now let's jump right into the first question that should set off your internal alarm bells. It's one of the most common and sneaky tactics liars use. Don't you trust me? 4 simple words that pack a powerful manipulation punch. Think about it. Has someone ever asked you this when you questioned their story? It's like they flipped a switch and suddenly you're the bad guy. That's exactly what they want. This question isn't innocent. It's a calculated move to shift attention from their suspicious behavior to your supposed lack of trust. When someone asks, "Don't you trust me?" they're not truly interested in your trust. They're forcing you to defend yourself instead of explaining their own behavior. It's similar to when a child gets caught with cookie crumbs on their face and says, "Don't you believe me?" instead of addressing the missing cookies. This tactic shows up everywhere. Your partner disappears for hours and replies with, "Don't you trust me?" When questioned, your coworker misses a deadline and says, "Don't you trust that I'll get it done?" Your friend borrows money again without repaying previous loans and asks, "What, don't you trust me?" What makes this question so dangerous is that it triggers guilt. Saying no feels harsh because we're wired to preserve relationships, and admitting distrust feels like breaking a social rule. So we back down, we apologize, and we ignore our valid concerns. When someone uses this tactic, watch their body language. They may cross their arms defensively, raise their voice emotionally, or avoid addressing your actual concern altogether. They might even bring up times they were trustworthy as evidence. When this happens, don't fall into the trap. Instead of getting defensive, try saying, "This isn't about trust. I'm asking about this specific situation," or "I'd like to focus on the facts right now." My personal favorite is, "Trust is built through transparency, not by avoiding questions." Recognizing this question for what it really is, a manipulation tactic, protects you from deeper deception. Once you understand that "don't you trust me" is actually a red flag, you'll stop feeling guilty for asking reasonable questions. You'll maintain your right to seek clarity and hold others accountable. The first question liars ask to avoid responsibility is, "Don't you trust me?" And now you know exactly why you shouldn't fall for it. Moving on to our second question, we need to talk about another phrase that rolls off a liar's tongue so smoothly you might miss the manipulation. Question number 2 is, "Why would I lie about that?" Have you ever noticed how this question makes you second-guess yourself? I remember witnessing a friend confront her boyfriend about text messages she found, and his immediate response was, "Why would I lie about something so trivial?" Her face showed that mixture of confusion and doubt we all feel when hit with this question. The psychology behind it is fascinating and honestly, a bit scary. When someone asks, "Why would I lie about that?" They're not inviting you to share your suspicions. They're subtly planting the idea that they have no motive to lie, which creates a false sense of transparency. It's like they're saying, "Look at how open I'm being by even discussing my own honesty." But in reality, they're dodging accountability with a rhetorical smokescreen. This question creates doubt in your mind. You start thinking maybe they really don't have a reason to lie. The truth is, people lie for countless reasons: to avoid consequences, protect their image, gain something, or sometimes just because they can. You'll encounter this tactic in many situations. A salesperson pushes a product with inflated claims, and when questioned says, "Why would I lie and risk losing a customer?" A child denies breaking something despite clear evidence, and, "Yes, why would I lie when I know you'd find out?" A politician confronted with contradictions says, "Why would I lie about something so easily verified?" What's particularly revealing is how liars often use this question immediately after being challenged, sometimes before they're even accused. This premature defensiveness is actually an offensive move, designed to make you back down. When faced with this question, shift the conversation back to facts rather than motives. Try responding with, "I'm just trying to understand what happened," or "I'm not making accusations, I'm seeking clarity." These responses help maintain the conversation without getting derailed by deflection. By recognizing this tactic, you prevent the gaslighting that often follows and preserve your own reality, rather than letting someone else's manipulation cloud your judgment. If you're finding value in these insights and want to support more content like this, consider hitting the subscribe button. Your support helps us continue creating content that protects people from manipulation. Now, let's continue with the third question that liars commonly use. When someone leans in and whispers, "Can you keep a secret?" It feels special, doesn't it? Like you're being chosen for something exclusive. That warm feeling of being trusted is exactly what makes this question so dangerously effective. What seems like an innocent request is actually a sophisticated trap that manipulators deploy with precision. When someone asks if you can keep a secret, they're not just testing your discretion. They're creating a false sense of intimacy and assessing how easily they can cross your boundaries. What happens next is fascinating. Once you say yes, and most people do because refusing can feel rude or disloyal, you're bound by an unspoken contract. You've agreed to hold information that might compromise your integrity or damage your relationships. At that point, the manipulator has recruited you as an unwitting accomplice. Think about the workplace schemer who says, "Can you keep a secret? I'm not supposed to tell anyone this about the boss." Or the friend who says, "Can you keep a secret? I shouldn't tell you what they said about you." Or the partner who whispers, "Can you keep a secret? I've been talking to my ex, but it's totally innocent." In every scenario, you're being tested. Will you keep harmful secrets, engage in gossip, or excuse questionable behavior? Your answer tells the manipulator how flexible or weak your boundaries are. The warning signs are subtle but critical. To notice, does the person seem overly eager to share the secret? Do they stress that they're telling only you? Are they violating someone else's privacy? Is the secret intended to damage your view of another person? These are red flags that the secret is not just a secret, it's bait. When faced with this question, protect yourself with responses like, "I prefer not to keep secrets that might put me in an uncomfortable position," or "I value honesty in all my relationships," or even, "Why does this need to be a secret?" By recognizing this manipulation, you avoid being pulled into triangulation, where the manipulator controls the flow of information between people to create tension and division. You preserve your integrity and stay true to your values. The power of this awareness is truly life-changing. Understand that the question, "Can you keep a secret?" often precedes manipulation. You'll feel that split-second pause of caution before answering, and that moment of hesitation could save you from becoming entangled in someone else's deceptive web. The third question liars ask is, can you keep a secret? And now you've got the insight to respond wisely. If you're finding this information valuable and want to support the channel and the work being done, you can leave a donation by clicking the thanks button just below this video. Your support makes it possible to continue creating content that helps people protect themselves from manipulation. Let's continue. When someone responds to your concerns with, "Who told you that?" you've just encountered the fourth question that should immediately raise a red flag for potential deception. This question represents one of the most aggressive forms of manipulation, and understanding it could save you from serious emotional harm. The question isn't about curiosity, it's about control. When a manipulator asks, "Who's your source?" they're not interested in addressing the issue you've raised. They're trying to identify and eliminate the person who informed you, cutting off your information supply. It's like a general trying to find and eliminate a spy in their ranks. The psychological impact of this question is profound. It shifts the tone from defensive to offensive, making you feel as though you've done something wrong by having this information. The question carries an implied threat, not necessarily of physical harm, but of social consequences for both you and your source. Consider how this plays out in real situations. A manager caught in a lie demands to know which employee revealed the truth. A cheating partner asks which friend told you about their suspicious behavior. A manipulative friend questions who poisoned you against them when confronted about their harmful actions. In each case, the focus moves away from their behavior and onto your sources. The behavioral changes accompanying this question are telling. The person often becomes visibly agitated. Their posture may become more aggressive, and they might lean forward, raise their voice, or suddenly become unnervingly calm in a controlled, threatening way. Their eyes narrow as they wait for your answer, closely watching for any tell that might reveal your source. When faced with this question, you need strategies to protect both yourself and your information network. Try responses like, "That's not relevant to the issue we're discussing," or "Multiple sources have confirmed this," or simply, "I'd prefer to focus on whether it's true rather than who told me." By recognizing this tactic, you prevent others from controlling your information network. You maintain your right to gather information from multiple sources without putting those sources at risk of retaliation. This awareness undermines a key tool that manipulators use to isolate their targets. The real lesson here goes beyond identifying a question. It's about understanding that healthy relationships don't involve information control. Trustworthy people focus on addressing concerns, not attacking sources. When someone's first instinct is to ask, "Who told you that?" instead of addressing the issue, they're revealing their priorities. Controlling the narrative matters more than resolving your concerns. The fourth question liars ask is, "Who told you that?" And now, you're equipped to respond in ways that maintain your power in the conversation. Now, let's move to the fifth and final question liars ask. I invite you to pause and reflect on a time when someone made you doubt your own memory. Maybe it was a partner who insisted you agreed to something you don't recall discussing, a colleague who claimed you made a mistake you're certain you didn't make, or perhaps a family member who rewrote history during an argument. That uncomfortable feeling of uncertainty, wondering if your mind is playing tricks on you, that's exactly what manipulators want you to feel. Don't you remember? Is the hallmark question of gaslighting, a form of manipulation designed to make you question your perception of reality. When used by a liar, this question isn't a genuine attempt to refresh your memory. It's a deliberate strategy to erode your self-trust and replace your reality with their version of events. What makes this question so powerful is the cognitive dissonance it creates. Most of us understand that human memory isn't perfect. We've all forgotten things before. So when someone confidently claims that we've forgotten something important, it creates internal conflict. We start to wonder, could I really have forgotten that? Am I losing my grip? This tactic can appear in both subtle and extreme forms. For example, the partner who says, "Don't you remember we talked about this last week," when no such conversation occurred. The boss who claims, "Don't you remember I told you the deadline changed?" to shift blame for poor planning. The friend who insists, "Don't you remember how badly they treated you?" to manipulate your feelings about someone else. Look for these warning signs. The person speaks with absolute certainty about events you don't recall. They become frustrated or concerned when you can't remember, as if your memory failure worries them. They might even provide elaborate details to make their false version seem more credible. And most tellingly, these memory discrepancies always seem to benefit them or their narrative. To protect yourself, try responses like, "That doesn't match my recollection, but let's look at the facts we can verify." Or, "I keep careful track of important conversations and don't have any record of that." Or simply, "Let's focus on the present situation rather than debating past events." These responses help maintain your confidence in your own perception while avoiding unproductive arguments about who remembers correctly. Recognizing this question for what it is, an attempt to manipulate your reality, preserves your mental well-being and your trust in yourself. Once you understand that "don't you remember" often signals an attempt to revise history, you can hold firmly to your own experiences without being easily swayed. I invite you now to think about conversations where you've heard this question. How did it make you feel? Did you question yourself? And now, with this new awareness, how might you respond differently in the future? Our fifth and final question liars ask is, "Don't you remember?" Recognizing it is perhaps the most powerful protection of all. We've now uncovered all 5 questions that should immediately raise red flags in your conversations. Don't you trust me? Why would I lie about that? Can you keep a secret? Who told you that? Don't you remember? These aren't just random questions. They're calculated tactics in a manipulator's arsenal, often working together as a system of deception. The truth is, now that you recognize these patterns, you're already far ahead of where most people will ever be. You've developed a psychological immunity that many never acquire. But here's what separates those who truly transform their lives: action. Will you be the person who watches this video, nods in agreement, and then continues to fall for these exact same tactics? Or will you be the one who implements what you've learned? The difference is life-changing. Start by trusting your instincts when these questions arise. Document conversations with manipulative people, and most importantly, practice the response strategies we discussed. They become more natural with use. This knowledge isn't just a shield for yourself, it's protection for your entire community. Share these insights with those you care about. When we collectively recognize manipulation tactics, they lose their power. The suggested video appearing on your screen right now will take this journey further. The algorithm has selected content that builds perfectly on what you've just learned. Click it now to continue building your psychological armor against manipulation. Remember, authentic communication builds trust. Manipulation destroys it. Choose wisely who you allow into your inner circle, and never feel guilty for protecting yourself from those who would deceive you.